Let me read to you a passage from the 10th chapter of St. Matthew's Gospel, verses 1 to 7. It's the Gospel for Wednesday of the 14th week in Ordinary Time. St. Matthew writes, Jesus called his 12 disciples to him, and gave them authority to drive out evil spirits, and to heal every disease and sickness. These are the names of the 12 apostles. First, Simon, who is called Peter, and his brother Andrew, James the son of Zebedee, and his brother John, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the tax collector, James the son of Alphaeus and Thaddeus, Simon the Zealot, and Judas Iscariot who betrayed him. These 12 Jesus sent out with the following instructions. Do not go among the Gentiles, or enter any town of the Samaritans. Go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as you go, preach this message: the kingdom of heaven is near. That's from Matthew chapter 10, verses 1 to 7. What does it suggest to us? Well, for the Christian, one of the notable advantages of making a study of comparative religion is that the distinctiveness of Christ and Christianity is seen in sharper relief. And similarly, if Christ is set as he should be within the context of the entire sweep of the Scriptures, both Old and New Testaments, we are helped to see his transcendent significance. He exceeds all that has gone before him. As St. John the Baptist explained to his disciples, Jesus is the bridegroom now arrived, and he, John, is merely the friend of the bridegroom. In our Gospel that I read earlier, the passage opens with our Lord calling 12 of his disciples to be apostles. He had many disciples, and we read in one Gospel that he sent out ahead of him 72 of them to prepare the way before him. In the Gospel of St. John, when our Lord announced the doctrine of the Eucharist in the synagogue at Capernaum, many of his disciples left him. And when, in the Acts of the Apostles, the election of a successor to Judas Iscariot was being arranged, there were about 120 present. Peter pointed out that there were men there who had walked in their company ever since the beginning of our Lord's public ministry, and who had remained faithful to Jesus till the Ascension. Well, of these disciples, 12 were chosen to be apostles, the leaders. Now, why 12? Well, our Lord was obviously thinking of the 12 tribes of Israel and their 12 patriarchs. In the Old Testament, God was the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That was how he introduced himself to Moses in the burning bush, in Exodus chapter 3, verse 6. In that encounter, God then refers to his people. I have witnessed the affliction of my people in Egypt, he said to Moses, chapter 3, verse 7. Now, when did the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob become the God of a people? Well, we may say that this happened with the emergence of the 12 sons of Jacob in Genesis 35, verse 23, and the prophecies of Jacob, their father, over those 12 sons in Genesis chapter 48 and 49. The 12 become the fathers of the 12 tribes of Israel, and they are a people on the basis of the covenant of God with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, their father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. Moses placed the 12 tribes of Israel on a new basis, on the basis of the covenant of Sinai. And following Sinai, over the course of sacred history, the 12 tribes of Israel pass through numerous mishaps and are scattered. Judah continues to bear with it the special blessing of Jacob. The tribe of Judah possesses the scepter, I quote, until he comes to whom it belongs. To him shall be the obedience of the nations. In Genesis chapter 49, verse 10. This prophecy of Jacob points to the Messiah who will fulfill the ancient promise made by God to Abraham that through him all the nations of the earth will be blessed. In Jesus, the one from the tribe of Judah, to whom the scepter belongs, we have the Messiah who has now arrived. And he was reconstituting the people of God on a new basis. All the nations would be blessed, and the mission of this new people would be to the world. And so, our Lord selects from his disciples the 12. They are to be the patriarchs of the new Israel. Now, what other prophet before Christ presumed to gather disciples on such a basis as this, and with such resonant allusions to the origins of the people of God? A new people was in the making, and just as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had formed his people at the beginning, so now, in the person of his Messiah, he was forming his people anew. Here was a new Moses, but one far greater. Moses did not form a new people with new patriarchs. There had been only the 12 patriarchs of the 12 tribes of Israel. At God's command, he led these tribes out of slavery to the promised land, but with a new covenant established on Sinai. It had renewed and taken forward the covenant of God with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Here, though, in Jesus, a new people was being formed that did not break with the old but fulfilled it. There was a new 12, and there would be a new covenant and a new church, founded not on kinship and ethnicity, but on sharing the life and spirit of Jesus Christ. Through the gift of grace won for us by Christ's death on the cross, this new people would be members of God's family through being brothers and sisters of Jesus Christ. What we are speaking of here is the forming of Christ's church on the 12 apostles, with Simon Peter at their head. These 12 he sent out during his public ministry. It was a foretaste of his great commission given to them after his rising from the dead. Just before he ascended into heaven, he commanded the 12 to go to the whole world and make disciples of all the nations, for all authority in heaven and on earth had been given to him. The scepter had passed to the one to whom it belonged. To him was due the obedience of the nations. By the gift of faith and our baptism, we are members of this church. Let us play our part in its mission then.